Mizmor David, Adonai mi yagor ba'olecha, mi yishkon b'har kodshecha, holech tamim ufal tzedek v'dove emet b'libo. L'ragal l'shono lo asol re'ehu ra'a v'cherpa lo nasha al krovo. Nizer be'einav nim'as v'et yirei Adonai yichabed. Nishba lo hara v'lo yamir, kaspo lo natan b'neshech v'shochad al naki lo lokach. Eile lo yamot lo olam. A Psalm of David. Lord, who may sojourn in your tent, who may dwell on your holy mountain? One who walks in purity, does what is right, and speaks the truth from the heart, who has no slander on the tongue, nor has done harm to a fellow, nor cast disgrace towards a neighbor, in whose eyes a contemptible person is repulsive, but who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully even to personal harm, and never retracts, who does not lend money on interest nor take a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things shall never falter. There's a verse in the Tochacha, in the rebuke that is given at the end of the Torah in Parshat Kitavo, and in there it says, all of the illnesses and all of the blows, asher lo katav b'sefer haTorah hazot, that is not written in this Torah, God will bring upon you. The Meshech Chochmah says, what does it mean, asher lo katav b'sefer haTorah hazot, that's not written in this Torah? The Meshech Chochmah says, this is mitat tzadikim. Who's not written in the Torah? The righteous ones who have died. How do we understand this idea? What do you mean the righteous ones are not written in the Torah? Says the Meshech Chochmah, that's not at all the intent of this. It means what is not written in this Torah? What is the blow against us? What is the illness that we will face that is not written in this Torah? Is that when a tzaddik passes away, or a tzadkaniyah, all of the great deeds, all of the great compassion, all of the great influence that that person had no longer exists. It is not written in this Torah, and the lack of that relationship, that is the disease, and that is the makeh. Today, as we come to establish the permanent matzeva, the permanent monument in memory of Leonor Zussman, we feel that loss. We feel that pain. We feel that blow. Not seeing her in shul, not having her come up and say Good Shabbos, not having her there to enjoy a pleasant word, a conversation. This is, says the Torah, that which we are lacking, that which we miss. Leonor was such a presence, and I'll call her a quiet presence. She wasn't so vocal or so verbal or so loud, but you knew she was there. Her presence, her stature was so distinct that you couldn't miss her. Her personality was such that you would go up to everybody and say, a good Shabbos, how are you doing? In such a quiet and stately manner. That loss, that mitat tzadikim, that loss of someone who was so righteous, so pure, so giving, so loving, that's the pain, that's the blow that we feel even today. Marilyn and Sarah are going to say a few words to Rabbi Millen as well, and then we'll have the formal Hakamat Matzeva, and we'll continue from there.
We are gathered here today for the unveiling of my mom, Leonor Zussman, Sefer L'Racha. My mom was born March 8th, 1927 in Reichensachsen, Germany, and she emigrated with her parents to America in November 1938. 2 years after her arrival in the United States, she won her school's spelling bee in Dayton. On to Ohio State, graduating with a business degree in a day when women graduating was not the norm. With my mom, family always came first. In addition to her unwavering devotion to my father, she was devoted to myself, my husband Stuart, my sister Francie, her 7 grandchildren, 6 of whom now live in Israel, and in later life, her great-grandchildren, who became the highlight of her life. My mom was a successful businesswoman, an equal partner with my father, Larry, Zecher Levracha, and the creative force in their business ventures, commercial real estate, and philanthropic projects around the world. My parents were married for 60 years. They lived 50 years of their married life in Dayton, and my mother lived the last decade of her life in Columbus. My parents together were a dynamic team, and our family was so lucky to have them as role models. They taught us the importance of family, caring about others, being actively involved in your community, and giving tzedakah. My mother loved her Lion of Judah pin, which I am wearing today, and she proudly wore it constantly to demonstrate her commitment to the Jewish people and to Israel. The lions on her monument, on both the Hebrew and the English side, represent the Lion of Judah. Mom, the last few years of your life were filled with challenges. I will always miss you so much and find comfort that you and Dad are together again. Mom, you led an amazing life, and I am so proud to have been your daughter. I would like to thank Rabbi Millen and Rabbi Zach for their support to my mother and our family, as well as to all the family members and friends who are with us this morning.
As everyone here knows, my nanny, Zichron Lebracha, was an incredibly special person. She was a strong, talented, and kind lady who achieved great things while always remaining classy and loving. For as long as I can remember, she was a huge part of my childhood and adult life, and since she's been gone, there's an obvious gap. In particular, I wish she could have met my second child, Liat, who's named after her. I also feel grateful for the time she spent with my oldest daughter, Meital. One of her greatest joys in later life were her great-grandkids. No matter her state, she would light up when she saw Meital, Nadav, Moshe, or David. Every phone call we had with her included multiple explanations of Ich liebe dich, German for I love you. And at every visit we had, Nanny would ask if she could keep Meital. We spent last week in Florida, and it was meaningful when Meital pointed to an old picture and recognized Oma, her name for my grandmother. I was speaking to Rena over this past Shabbat about Nanny, and she told me a bit about the special relationship David had with her. When their visits were coming to an end, Nanny would always say, "You can go, but David should stay. He can stay with me in the bed or on the floor, whatever he likes." Likewise, it didn't matter whether Rena was there or not. David was always happy to visit Nanny. And even in the last few months of her life, when Nanny was not in such great shape and she was half asleep, David could somehow make her sing childhood songs with a small smile on her face. Ellie also shared with me his memory that until he met his wife Tolly, Nanny would start every conversation with him asking him when he would find somebody to marry. Literally starting the day after his wedding, Nanny started asking Ellie when he would give her a great-grandchild. And as soon as Ellie's son Nadav was born, Nanny immediately would start and end every conversation asking when he would take Nadav to see her. Nadav was able to take his first trip to America a few months before Nanny passed away. And even though she was already sick, they were able to share a few special visits. And Nanny was able to share her special smile with them and share a few laughs together. I was pregnant with Liat at a time when her memory was mostly gone. And when we spoke, she would usually forget that I was pregnant. And it was touching to see her fresh excitement every time she heard the news. If Liat has even some of her namesake's characteristics or accomplishments, I'll be really proud. Despite her obvious drive and accomplishments, she was also very traditional, and it was clear she put family first. One of my husband Elon's favorite stories about her is when she found him ironing his shirts. Confused, she inquired why I wasn't ironing them for him. When he responded that I use anti-wrinkle spray and don't iron, she matter-of-factly asked him what I was good for and why he married me. Her dry wit came out at some of the most unexpected times, and even when she was starting to fade, would often come up with lines that would have us laughing hysterically. I miss her very much, but I'm also grateful for the time we were able to spend together.
Today we gathered to establish the matzeva of our very dear friend Leonore. Many of you know that Rachel and I were privileged to be very close friends with Larry and Leonore. And so at this unveiling today, although it's not mishpacha, very deep and close relationships. And as I said at Larry's levaya almost 7 years ago, he was a Rebbe to me and a model, and I will speak about that soon, of what chesed ultimately has to be. I used